GM, GN, GA, all the G's to all the G's. This is We the Film3 Thursdays. Today we are interviewing Jenny Krakovsky, who made famous most recently by making an AI feature film in 30 days. If you followed along on the journey, there's definitely a lot of value I took out of things that she experienced all along the way, because I've definitely hit my same walls, same issues, trying to figure out where, you're going to get compute from, credits from, what matches and what's going to match. Even just like trying to mentally get yourself to the point of doing this thing. It's been an interesting ride. So why don't we start with Jenny, if you want to just introduce yourself, kind of like, quick background, whatever got you to the point right before AI, and then we'll talk about your foray into what AI was for you.
Yeah, sure. Well, firstly, thanks for having me. This is very, all very new to me. I don't do a lot of spaces, so I've done one before. So just thanks for having me and for putting this all together. Look, I mean, my background is probably similar to quite a lot of people's. I'm sort of a traditional filmmaker. I've been a filmmaker for, 10 plus years, working professionally, mostly obviously in London, doing documentaries initially. And then I was a producer for commercials, and then I became a director for commercials. And obviously the whole time I was doing that, I was writing sort of screenplays that were various shades of terrible, and then they were less terrible. And then once you start to write things that don't completely suck, I think, it's just a natural progression if you love film and you are a filmmaker with some modicum of skills, that you want to make your scripts into films. And I guess I started to get frustrated just with, there's a little bit of a slump in the industry, and I just wanted to get on and make films. And I found that even just making short films, I was having to save up so much money. It's just so expensive to make films if you don't have investment and stuff. And, kind of finding myself at this crossroads where it's what do I want to do? Do I want to not be poor forever, or do I want to keep throwing all my savings and working two jobs to pay for short films that are such a risk? You don't know what's if it's ever going to work out. And so I was just screw it, I'm going to make an AI film, and that's how I ended up here.
That's awesome. Yeah, I had a lot of similar experience. It's one of those things that it gets tough to say to yourself, oh, I'm going to go put how many thousands of dollars into this and then only make the film, and then have to distribute the film and see if there's a way to return on the investment. And it's so difficult when something doesn't work out. And I definitely felt a lot of what you came to in watching you over the 30 days. Just I'd see the value in when something would work really well, and I'd seen the value in when something wouldn't work very well, and I felt every one of those steps. So it was really good to watch somebody and feel kind of seen in watching somebody else. What was the your introduction into AI? Have you been around since the earlier days when it was, model scope and all the really janky stuff, or when did you kind of come into AI video or AI image generation, whichever was first?
So I first heard about Midjourney. It must have been 2022 or something. And I remember I was talking to a producer, and we were talking about his idea that he had, and he whipped out this sort of, I guess it was a lookbook or something. And he showed me these images, and I was like, what the F? I was like, what is that? He's like, oh, I did it in Midjourney. I was like, what is that? He's like, it's AI. And he went on to explain it, and I completely zoned out. Because I'm not a very technical person, as most of you will have sussed out by now. But basically, when he sort of talked about how it works stuff, I was like, yeah, completely in another planet. But when I went and sort of looked at the images myself, and I went and looked at Midjourney, I was like, oh my God. I was like, even just for the amount of time that I spend sort of sourcing images for treatments and pitch decks for commercials and things like that, like it would just save me so much time. Like every time I want to like do another pitch, like, yeah. And I was like, I saw it instantly with Midjourney, just the possibilities. And obviously it wasn't long before I saw Runway. And yeah, this was like 22, probably 22, 23. And like, yeah, like early Runway. And like just seeing that, yeah, it was kind of still back then. It was kind of, I guess, it was closer to animation. And then obviously over the last sort of 2-3 years, like obviously loads of video models came out. I remember sort of lurking around online, like watching what was happening with Sora. And when I saw Sora, like there was all this promise of like Sora at one point, but it wasn't available. And I remember being like, oh my God, like that is the future. Like it's actually possible to do it, because early sort of models, you just was like, it's close, but it's not close enough. And then when I saw that sort of Sora video, I think they had like a promo or something, and it wasn't available yet. I was like, okay, well, I can start to think about this as like a possibility now. And then I went off and made like a real life short film, threw a bunch of cash that I couldn't afford into that. And that's actually done really well. It's screening at a festival next month. And like there's some press around that and stuff. So it did work out. And, you know, but there's no guarantee of that. You know, that's the thing is it's not, I wasn't getting like jaded because like I wasn't going anywhere. Like I was slowly but surely, but it's more just that I didn't want to keep taking these huge risk on and like, yeah, like putting myself in like financial bargaining positions and stuff like that. And with AI, I could just see that the possibilities would be endless. So yeah, that's kind of how it kind of went. And then obviously when I decided more recently that I was going to just launch out into this, I had been like, obviously I'd been playing around with Seed Dance for a while, Seed Dance 2. And like when I saw, there was basically recently like Runway did a thing a few months ago that was like a TV pilot competition or something. And I made an entry to that and it wasn't very good. But by making that, I was like, it's ready. I was like, it's almost ready. And then I started to think, I was like, it's almost ready. I wonder, I've got all these scripts lying around. I was like, you know, if I don't do that, like probably someone else will. So screw it, you know, why not me? So that's what happened.
Even in those early days, the early years, I guess, 2022, like stuff was pretty rough, but you could still see that there was something there. You could do something with the stuff and put it together, plug the things together, manufacture something out of it that I think would be recognizable as like the intent of what you were trying to convey back then.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I would say like you could have, and I did sort of easily use that as like for trailers and stuff and like just, concept sort of things. Obviously when you want to sort of show a producer what you mean, especially, I was working on a sci-fi back then and it's just really handy to have this thing that you can just kind of create everything. And obviously like, I was creating sort of my first frames in Midjourney and then going and putting them into Runway and stuff. But I remember clearly, like at that time, I had shot like a short film that was like so low budget. It was really awful. And it was on green screen and it was not good. And I remember like trying to put some AI, I think it was Runway. Like I was trying to put some like runway clips of like a guy climbing over a fence that would like hopefully solve all of the issues I had in this terrible green screen short film that I shot for like no money. And like, yeah, it sucked. It didn't work. And so at that point I was a bit like, this is not going to work. And I couldn't get it to work. So I was a bit like, went away again. Like I kind of like kept circling back. Like I would like disappear and just like be like, no, this is not the answer. And then I would come back sort of 3 months later and be like, oh, people are doing more interesting things. What's happening?
Yeah, it was, and that's the thing about where I was is like I switched from being a crew member solely because I couldn't do any more like self-financing without like putting myself completely into the poorhouse, to like just being a screenwriter. And that enabled me to want to do a lot more with AI as it like was coming around, because I was just like, oh, there's something here that I'm not getting out of film. But and then these days it would take a lot for me to want to go back to making a movie the traditional way. Has that kind of changed? Has making like, you know, trying to make an AI film like change your perspective on what is required, what you feel is required to like be on set, or even start a big project with somebody? Or is it kind of solidified what you already felt?
It hasn't like turned me off real life film. And in fact, I'd say honestly, some of the limitations make me miss real life film, especially right now while I'm doing all these like tiny little detail fixes and stuff. Like, and also just, you know, we do have to be honest, and I usually try and be honest in my content that, like, you know, the real beauty of film is like, yeah, human performance and incredible cinematography and the way that light moves through glass. And those are like two of the main things that AI just, it's almost there for sure. And I have no doubt it will get there, but it's not quite there now. And so, yeah, like obviously, like it's really cool that I can sit in my room and, you know, in the middle of nowhere and just like kind of like make this film and sort of get it to people. Like, we're really lucky to live in a time where there's just so much possibility. But at the end of the day, like, no, it hasn't made me want to like forever forsake real life film. And I think honestly, I was talking with someone in the industry earlier this week actually, and we were sort of discussing, I think in the long run, probably like AI at the highest level of film, like I don't know about TV and sort of animation and things like that, but at the highest level of like live action film, I think probably AI will be used the way that VFX is now, rather than like completely. I don't think there's gonna. I having used AI like for, yeah, especially for this challenge, I think that real human actors are still going to be what the high end want to do, and I don't see that. I don't see that changing anytime soon, because another reason that people go to the cinema is, you know, and in fact it's, you know, you can't really get a film financed without some kind of talent attached to it, and that's because people do want to see really great actors at the peak of their powers. And yeah, I think that ultimately AI will probably not completely be replaced, like like live action shoots and stuff. But I think a lot of people, especially at the low budget range and at the sort of medium range, will use it a lot, obviously, for like, yeah, just like plugging in the gaps where you don't have the finance, you know?
Yeah, I think that the combination, like you're talking about, the like hybrid filmmaking style, where you're going to have maybe some traditional footage and maybe you do AI for B-roll, or you utilize AI to like throw together shots that you don't want to have to do like pickups or reshoots for. I think that solves a lot of problems in that sense. Kind of on the front end and potentially the back end, depending on how people want to apply stuff, and also like where it makes sense to plug it in, like you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think it will be. I think it will just be like accepted widely as like a tool that we use in a hybrid way, and I think that yeah, there is something about actually shooting a film as well, and the sort of collaborative way that films, you know, they kind of create themselves. It's like they become this organism of their own because of the team and the people and the sort of collective consciousness of that. And I think in a way you can think of it the way that music kind of went to like how, you know, if you are just like a bedroom producer and a DJ or whatever, like you can make like the whole song and, you know, get to number one yourself. And I think that we will start to see like more and more of that, where, yeah, some bedroom dweller like me can actually like, you know, do the whole thing themselves. And then, yeah, like that can be like a calling card for you, where, yeah, you can tell some really interesting stories that maybe big producers aren't willing to sort of put a risk, or studios aren't willing to sort of finance you because you're a risk or whatever. But if they prove successful, then yeah, then they will, you know, they'll love that. I think in a way it might have the at the moment, obviously everybody kind of is hoping that it's going to democratize the medium, and I think that it will in some ways, but I think in another way it might end up what happened in the music industry, where with social media, how like, yeah, like with social media now, it's like because you can actually, you know, like reach an audience yourself, it's now expected that you do, right? So it's like, you know, they don't sort of sign artists unless they already have like a social media following. So you kind of, yeah, and like in the music industry, from what I sort of know, is like, yeah, a lot of the sort of A&R that was there is gone, and you know, studios don't spend as much, or labels don't spend as much cash on that as they used to in like the 90s and the early 2000s. And what you have there is that basically now that because you can, you know, make your film with, you know, AI, and you can distribute it on YouTube, and you can, you know, gain a social media following and that kind of stuff. And you look at Backrooms and Obsession and things like that. Like, I think that we might also have a situation where that's kind of what's expected of you now, like in the next year or two. And then if you're able to like kind of do something not terrible with those tools, maybe someone will give you some money. I don't know. I think that's how, you know, studios think, you know.
Well, and this is kind of what I like about what you said there is the democratization of a lot of this stuff is going to be really interesting. And you probably see this in a different way, but similar. It's like for me, I was a filmmaker in New York City, so it was really easy for me to like just keep going in job, whatever job I could get, I could go to. But what was hard was getting anyone to finance anything in New York City. But now I think about the hybrid method of like, if I were to shoot something where I'm at in Binghamton, which is 3 hours away from New York City, I could get some really interesting locales and stuff like that. And then using AI really amplify the production value to a lot of this stuff. Is that something that like, is hybrid something you would opt for, or you're looking to maybe do as far as like a next project, as something, you know, like a bigger next project, being able to manage both the traditional and the AI?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it will be my next project, because also obviously now there's you know, I'm in quite a unique position in some respects, when now, yeah, I've kind of like made a small amount of waves in this sort of space, what I'm doing now. So in all likelihood, it's more likely that I'll probably do something similar to what I've done just now next. But yeah, look, if that wasn't happening, yeah, I probably would just like do something hybrid. I also think honestly that, yeah, like having just sort of, obviously I'm on like, you know, late stage post production now with the feature film, and like, yeah, a lot of things, yeah, would be probably better if it was like actors. But then again, this is the thing you have to think about, like, you know, like not all actors are equal, right? Like, this is, I think I said, you know, about this in one of my early videos, which is, you know, when I was basically still trying to sort of, I guess, answer some of the questions and things some of the haters of AI had sort of said to me. And the thing is that, yeah, it is better to use real life actors, obviously, if they can act. But, you know, if you look at like the vast majority of short films or even feature films, you know, like that are sort of self-funded, most of the acting's dreadful, like really terrible. And obviously that's not always the actor's fault. Sometimes that's just downstream from bad directing and bad, you know, writing. So it's not always the actor's fault either. But I did say at some point in one of my early videos for the challenge, like, is AI acting really worse than that? I don't know. Probably not. So, yes, to answer your question, I would probably see in future going more hybrid. Yeah, maybe not the next project, maybe not immediately, but like I definitely think that in the long run that might be where I am. And like, yeah, I think that, yeah, like I think if you have the skills to kind of direct actors, which I do, and like I say, my short film, you know, that I shot last year is now playing festivals and stuff this year. Like, if you do have that ability and you are able to do AI, then you're in a really strong position for like, yeah, like getting work and stuff going forward, because there is going to have to be a bit of an upskill for everybody, I guess. But yeah, look, mostly, like you said, you can use it just to add production value to what you're already doing. And yeah, look, I mean, I think a bit like CGI, where there is too much of a good thing, you know, like you can go to CGI and to AI and to sci-fi and I just think like, yeah, keep it simple, go back to basics and like, you know, just get a really good story going and tell it visually without too much fanfare. And then, yeah, if you want to like, I think like embellish what you're doing and like fill in, you know, kind of like shade in the detail with AI, then that's great. But yeah, I don't necessarily think that like we're suddenly all gonna like switch to AI. I don't think that's gonna happen probably.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I've never been about replacement theory. I've always been about integration and stuff like that. And you know, it's funny you talk about actors. Like there's an actor who auditioned for one of the shorts I made. I still have the audition because every once in a while I watch it just to have this man's confidence. He in the middle of the audition, I'm directing him, and he was like, "Can I just do this myself? I think I'm a better director." And then proceeded to do the absolute worst rendition of the lines he was given. But he was so confident that it was so good. And he left like confident. And he even called and emailed later, like that he's surprised he didn't get the part. But I was just, it was that, it can be like that kind of train wreck. And it's one of those things that makes me like AI filmmaking a little more because the casting process is absolutely like egregious. And but the other thing why I appreciate your film a lot is the one of the other things that keeps me like not making films is I always like period pieces, and you know, like actors are great and period pieces are awesome. So kind of the thing I want to see if you want to go into is the film you're making in 30 days, which is we're over the 30 days, but that's the way film is always. Nothing ever runs on fucking time. Like what was that idea? What is the idea? Like, you know, give people kind of an overview on what the idea is as much as you're willing to share. And then just what was that journey like? What was that 30 days? And I'll ask you more questions as we go along. So you don't have to, you know, if you have a landing point for any point, go for it. Cause I'll just keep asking about different parts of that. But yeah, so let's see what's that idea? What's the general synopsis? And then what was it like getting into that?
Yeah, sure. So, funny enough, I'm actually not a massive period piece fan. Like, it really bugs me. And maybe it's because here in the UK, like, I don't know if you've noticed, but like a lot of stuff that comes out of the UK is like period pieces. And, you know, it makes me want to bash my head against the wall, really. It's like, you know, there used to be a running joke in the sort of film industry here that's like, oh, should we like give some up and coming filmmakers some money to like do something experimental? It's like, no, I think we're just going to make another period piece. It's like, so yeah, I don't have an amazing relationship with period pieces, just for that reason. But yeah, this film is called Boss. It was originally called Your Mother Should Know, which is a reference to a Beatles song, because it's set in 1960s Liverpool, right at the time when it was like Mersey Beat, and obviously the most famous Mersey Beat band were the Beatles. And so it's got this kind of like very specific place and time and attitude to it that is 1960s Liverpool. And the story is a crime caper that's sort of female driven. So it's about four women who find themselves in a bit of a precarious situation because their husbands are arrested, and they need to basically take over the crime business to get their husbands out of the clink. And yeah, it's a fun kind of tongue in cheek, quite sarcastic, crime caper, and it's about female friendship and things like that. It's it follows a woman who starts out as like a mother and a housewife, and she ends up as like a fugitive on the run from the law. So yeah, it's kind of got Thelma and Louise vibes, because that's one of my favorite films. And like, yeah, it's got Thelma and Louise vibes, but it's like 1960s Liverpool. And I've done obviously all of the like Mersey Beat soundtrack myself. I haven't exclusively stuck to Mersey Beat, but I have exclusively stuck to the 60s. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like, I think one of the reasons why I decided to do that one, because obviously I have other scripts, and actually, honestly, that was a script that I wrote 5 years ago, and then I kind of just like fell out of love with it, got over it, forgot about it completely, and was like into all sorts of like more sort of modern stuff, satirical stuff, sci-fis, and like things that are maybe a bit darker, because my general leanings are pretty dark. Like, I like dark comedy and satire and things like that. Like, I'm a big David Fincher fan, really. And like, then with all this AI stuff, I was like, the thing is, like, I could do a sci-fi, but it's like, excuse my French, but every bitch in town is doing a sci-fi with AI. Like, and in fact, if you think about what the public, you have to think about outside of like, filmmaking circles, the public, what they associate with slop is like sci-fi and fantasy and action and things like that. So to me, it was just a natural, it wasn't even like a conscious decision. It was just like an obvious intuition, like an instinct, really, that's like, well, don't make a sci-fi, and like, don't make a fantasy, and like, why don't you just make that 1960s film that you wrote years ago that has a good story and good characters. It's fairly uncontroversial for the most part, and just see how you get on. Make it easy for yourself in a way. I knew that this particular story had a real momentum to it, and is basically just it's quite a simple story. It's not too complex in terms of structure, and also, like, some of the scripts I've written are maybe a little bit more controversial, and there was nothing in this that was going to like sort of get me like into more trouble than I need to be when I'm making an AI feature film already, right? Like, so yeah, that was the thinking. And then I tried out the aesthetic, and actually, using like Mid-Journey as I was for ages, it just never looked quite right. Like, Mid-Journey is amazing for like, just like putting like different styles together and mixing and matching. But I never really managed to get it really looking like people. And then bam, when I saw Nano Banana 2 or whatever it is, like, I was just like, oh my God, this is like actual photography. Like, I couldn't tell the difference between a Nano Banana shot and an actual photo. And I was like, wow, that changes everything. And then, so I rooted around for my aesthetic. I initially tried to, in my head, I wanted to shoot Technicolor because, I just love that old school Technicolor look with Technicolor film, and they don't obviously make Technicolor film anymore. And so that was another thing I was thinking of. Kept thinking, like, conceptually, and thinking, if you're going to do a feature film with AI, then you really need to be doing something that isn't possible in real life, because otherwise it's like, well, are you just doing it as, like, as a sort of substitute for real life film? And then when I had the Technicolor thought, I was like, oh my God, I was like, that's perfect, because you actually can't shoot on Technicolor anymore because they don't even stock it. So that's when I was like, oh shit, like, yeah, I should, like, shoot that 1960s film and shoot it as if it's in Technicolor, which you can't even do anymore. So it's like bringing back something that's impossible to do. And then I didn't end up doing it on actual Technicolor, because I found that the aesthetic that I really want, sort of the French New Wave sort of aesthetic, I found out that the cameras they actually used and the films that they actually used was Eastman color, but same difference really. So that's really how it started. And once I saw the images and the video as output, I tried a few tests. I was like, oh my God, this looks like this is actually possible. It actually looks good on its own. And yeah, it still looks like AI at some points for sure. Like, no one's going to watch it and think it wasn't AI, but that's kind of not the point. And then when I realized as I was going along that, yeah, maybe instead of, like, always trying to, like, hide the fact that it's AI, maybe lean into the AI and, like, have little sort of in jokes with the audience and be, like, self-referential about it, and have, like, a wink and a nod with the audience that, like, yeah, we all know this is AI, then it's a style kind of, yeah, style just kind of developed out of that, really. But it was a process for sure.
Oh hell yeah! I have a very similar love for anamorphic, and it's unfortunate that anamorphic really hasn't come into AI yet. Like, I can get 21:9, which is really nice, but the video just doesn't. It's not there yet. So watching somebody else get an aesthetic that is something they want to match what they see in their head, that's a really powerful thing. Um, and I'm also I also feel you with the darkness, because, like, one of my favorite movies in the last couple of years was, like, The Banshees of Inisherin, and that movie would be so difficult to make with AI, just because there's so many scenes that are just ridiculous and hard to hard to metabolize that way. And it's mostly because the tools are just they're weird. Before I ask you the next question, I was going to say I definitely would recommend, as whenever in your process, if you can get your hands on Flux. Flux has a really, really powerful methodology to making some amazing images that Nano Banana can't even touch, for various amounts of reasons. It's not the easiest to use. It's not as direct and easy to prompt as Nano Banana is. But if you can start getting into that generator, I think you'll find the images are a lot more pleasing when you start bending the aesthetics to what you want. It's definitely something, especially with Flux 3 right around the corner, I definitely recommend it. But what I wanted to ask you about was about tools. Did you start, because I know you'd spoken about Midjourney, but did you kind of start anywhere with a certain set of tools? Because I think you used Seedance for this entire project, but did you start on any tool set and end up in any tool set? And what were the pluses and minuses that you found along the way?
Well, just for this project, or, like, before this project?
Well, I mean, you can always talk about before, like, I'm always into hearing. I'm a process whore. I love process. So I could always hear about process. But you can focus it however you want, whatever you feel is more interesting.
Well, this is the thing. And look, anyone who's been sort of watching my videos will know that I'm really not like an AI expert. Like, I'm a filmmaker, and I'm technically competent as a filmmaker, but I'm not a DOP. I understand, a lot of what a DOP does, but I'm not a particularly technically minded person. So for me, one of the things that actually matters is sort of user friendliness, right? Like, I've tried everything basically by this point. So I've tried, like, yeah, obviously, like, I started with Runway, and that's a very user friendly platform. And then I've tried Higgsfield, and I don't really like that platform. And if you take away some of the issues that are sort of other people sort of, are more qualified to talk about with Higgsfield, just on pure platform, like, I literally can't get a tune out of it. Like, I just end up like losing my mind and wasting my money. So yeah, I just, maybe people are like better at it than me. I don't know, but I don't have time to sort of find out. Like, yeah, I never been able to get a tune out of Higgsfield. I don't know why, because it looks really cool. All of the stuff on, like, that they advertise, it looks so cool. I would love to use it, but yeah, every time I go on there, I regret it. Like, so yeah, that's just my experience. And like, yeah, obviously now I'm using Mitter, and obviously I'm using Seed Dance too. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, you could use like Kling or VO. Like, I've tried all of these. VO at one point, was it VO1 or VO3, I think, or something like that. That was really good. I remember using that and thinking, oh my God, this is the future. And then I remember seeing Seed Dance. I don't know if it was Seed Dance 2.0, it probably was. And there was something about it that I was like, this is really, really good, but all of the characters end up looking like Seed Dance characters. And I couldn't work out why that was. It had a certain vibe to it. But yeah, I think all of the tools are really cool. They're really good. I use obviously Seed Dance 2.0, and I hear that Seed Dance 2.5 is coming out, and that will definitely like improve things. And obviously 30 seconds is really cool, because like that would have been super useful for me doing my feature film, but I don't know, maybe if it comes out in time, I can kind of do some cover some of those ugly morph cuts with it. I don't know, but yeah. What else have I used? God, I've used it all really. Like, obviously, like 11 Labs, Suno, Claude, ChatGPT, Image 2, or whatever it is. Like,
Well,
yeah.
More of the question is, like, did you find any limitation? Because especially with the content you're making, did you find any like real limitations in it, or you kind of felt unleashed in the entire thing?
Yeah, obviously there's loads of limitations. So we're not there yet. Like, and when you try and do something that's quite, like, just, yeah, quite laborious, like I'm doing, like, you realize that it is very limited. Like, that's why it's taken me, nearly 2 weeks now to do fixes. Like, and I'm still, I should be done in the next day or so, but I'm not done yet because it's just so many limitations. And like, those are only increased by the fact that I had to try and make things fast. And obviously, so I was generating with Act 3, who are, they've got an amazing platform over there. It's literally like what they're able to do over there at Act 3 is just, it's a miracle, that platform. But at the same time, yeah, what I gained in speed potentially, like, yeah, like I'm having to clean up a lot of the issues that come from just like mass generating and stuff. But I think that, yeah, look, I mean, what I'm noticing is that actually Seed Dance performs quite well with close ups, and it seems to want to always sort of revert to a close up, which is not really my favorite thing. But I'm having to kind of like, yeah, go with things that just work because they're not necessarily what I exactly want for my style, but seed dance just seems to perform better in a close-up. And yeah, a lot of my film is people talking, so I can kind of do that. But yeah, I think maybe where it struggles sometimes. Yeah, look, I mean, where does it struggle? I think that it, yeah, it's just like it's prompting everything. Obviously, when I like at the moment, I'm doing all the fixes on Mitter, and like, yeah, just having to like tell it really basic things. Like, I think over time maybe we'll get like, you know how when you're editing there's loads of like shortcuts on your keyboard and stuff. I hope we get to a point with AI where like I guess like people are trying to do that with agents now. But like I really hope we get to a place where it's like a lot of the stuff that is like repetitive can just be like can just be really simple, because I find that one of the problems I have is like I'm just constantly having to repeat the same thing over and over again, and like it's just unnecessary really. So I think as the technology improves and the platforms improve and the models improve and stuff, I think that there will start to become like maybe there'll be like an AI that just like tells seed dance what you want, right? Because like, and you just select it. I don't know, like yeah.
It's something I think, and what's funny is like Higgsfield, I have a similar feeling about. I've even done one of their campaigns, and I remember doing the campaign going, I can't even finish what you want me to finish with the amount of credits because I have no idea what this fucking thing is doing. And I do think that community prompts are going to make those kind of things happen, because in the short that I just made, I used 2 community prompts, one for chasing for a car driving through traffic, and one for a camera firing up a building and finding somebody at the top of it. And it was one of those things like it was just that easy to just copy and paste and just change all the details to what I needed it to have. Like, I have a giant banana that's in aviator glasses with a giant mustache. So that's like, it's not easy to get every time. Because when they want to put a stem on the banana, it's all sorts of craziness. But I think that there is something to that, kind of similar to how lensing is on set, where it's like, well, I want this kind of shot, and there's a lens that's standard for that type of makeup, that type of composition. And I think that we'll get there with AI in a lot of ways. And it'll be, very aesthetic driven, very shot driven, and stuff like that. So
yeah, I think as well, just to like jump in, you know how like with Midjourney you can make your own personalized style. I really fucking hope that somebody works out how to like do that with like seed dance, because like I spoke at length in the early parts of my challenge and stuff about how I just hate the camera work of seed dance. Obviously, it's always going to default to the like lowest common denominator. But I think, you know what, like I've actually used obviously like Steadicam a few times in like my commercials and my short films and things like that. And actually I realized that I don't really like Steadicam in real life. I just don't like, it just doesn't feel right to me. It just doesn't feel, I think people use it because they think it feels high end, but I find that it doesn't feel high end to me. And I prefer like a static shot. And, or if I'm going to move the camera, I'll use a slider in real life. And like, like I just like, obviously I'm like constantly having to tell Seed Dance like not to move the camera, and like just to not do things that are the lowest common denominator. Another problem I'm having kind of in the edit is just that like during like one take, like it will just like go to so many different like if you think of a conversation between 2 people, like the close-ups should match, right? Like they should be like the same one when you go back to the same character. And Citals will just like completely break the 180 rule and just like, like go straight to like completely different side of the room, like completely different side of the face. Like, which is really frustrating because you just really run the risk with stuff like that of like it looking like bad TV,
Oh hell yeah! I mean, one of the advantages that like LTX, who's coming up a little bit, has is they have trainable LoRa's and stuff that you could give it video footage, and then it has to follow in the LoRa like how the video comes out, and that's how they've been able to do like dolly zooms, which is such a bitch to do in real life. Like I've done maybe two in my life, and they were both very difficult to execute properly. And like I said, as soon as AI is able to do this, like we're all done. That's it. It's over. And they've been able to do it, but it's one of those things like it's still very much a niche thing for major AI to do. Like Cdance could do it, but it's not something that it anywhere opts to. Same thing with locked off shots. Like I love locked off shots. They're fucking great. Have a good wide that is like, I'm a super wide guy. I love 3:1 aspect ratio. And so it's like having a nice locked off shot, super wide, being able to like breathe in this entire, scene would be really awesome. But AI has such a problem with it. And it's such a difficulty in using it. And I could understand the frustrations with it because it sucks, and even with open source, like I get it with like I'm a little more technically inclined, but it's one of those things that I hate having to fight with it.
Yeah, it does. It does feel quite a lot like a fight. And look, the other thing is like I'm always kind of thinking like along the lines of why do people start doing dolly zooms in the past, right? It's because they wanted an emotional effect. Like I think it was in Vertigo was one of the most obvious sort of first examples. And yeah, it's because they wanted the feeling of vertigo. And there's obviously the famous one that's in Jaws that Spielberg did and stuff. But like you have to think about like why people are, well, you don't have to, but I like to think about like why these things were invented in the first place, and it's for the emotional feeling. And now we're in a place where like I feel like people use the tool in like and it's now detached from its original purpose. And so when people call things slop, I think a lot of the time I've tended to notice that it tends to be when people are completely detaching style, especially with camera work and aesthetics, that it's almost like they've detached. That it's like rookie filmmaking is like detaching the reason that you're doing that from the thing that you're doing, right? Like, and that also goes into, I think, like yeah, like with music, like everything, things feel hammy and like things feel like, yeah, just kind of a bit rubbish when it's like just because it looks cool. And I think at the moment we're in a place because AI filmmaking is super new that, like, yeah, a lot of things, the tendency is just to do something because it looks cool. And like, obviously I want to look cool, but like there has to be a certain level of restraint with things like that. So I think one of the reasons maybe why my film, my challenge and stuff sort of stood out to people is largely just because of the restraint that I deliberately chose to operate with. And I think that sort of restraint is, to the best of my ability, like that doesn't necessarily come naturally to me, but I know that if you actually want to create something that's story driven, yeah, you have to be kind of restrained on aesthetics. Like I love anamorphic lenses, like I love them. I like, I don't even like shooting on anything else really, but like, yeah, like the minute that you try and put sort of anamorphic lenses into AI and stuff, number one, it can do the barrel distortion, but it can't do the bokeh properly, and it doesn't actually mimic the way that light moves through anamorphic glass. So you're kind of redundant in doing it. And therefore, the only reason to sort of do it with AI is because you want to look quote unquote more cinematic. But yeah, I think that like if you want to make actual like cinematic stuff, ironically, it's like, yeah, do fewer quote unquote cinematic things, because actually like, yeah, like like the things that make something cinematic aren't the sort of things that you think, right?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like crazy.
I feel like a lot of the time, I remember seeing the movie Super 8, and the kid who's holding the camera is just losing his mind about production value and like a train going by. And like I am right there with him because I get it. I totally get it. And I feel like AI is the embodiment of that, especially Seed Dance, without a doubt, Seed Dance. Seed Dance is the embodiment of that child in an AI filmmaker, because it is just like, oh man, this is a newscast. There needs to be at least 5 different cameras on this one person. Meanwhile, every newscast it's usually 3 cameras, at most. So most of the time it's just one locked off shot and then maybe an alternate and then a zoom, just to do all those stupid, crazy fucking things. So it's one of those things that it's nuts that we're at this point, but I totally see what you're saying.
Well, it's like, my wife is a very talented graphic designer and art director, and she like always makes this kind of like joke about how when something's bad, it's usually because the person looks like they just discovered, like they just found Photoshop yesterday and they've just put all of the effects on it, right? It's like the first day you get anything, you kind of like just put everything on it. It's like a pizza that's just got like, it doesn't know what it is, like it's just got everything on it, and like that's basically like what AI slop looks like. Like slop is just like, yeah, it's just like got all of the vibes and like none of the like content. Like it's just, yeah, like it's, and like, so the question for me that's exciting is always like, how can you get around that? Because like, look, I mean, some of my film, is sloppy right now. Like obviously I'm doing everything I can to like make it not sloppy. But the thing that frustrates me the most is that I know what not sloppy is. And so, yeah, trying to sort of bend Seed Dance to your will to get it to like unsloppify itself is that in itself. I think that that's, actually, yeah, even just trying to do that is something that I think people appreciate. And I think that if you're even trying to do something that is, I don't know, more restrained or elegant or whatever, like, I think that even just the sort of the ambition to do that is, yeah, it's like people like that because they can see that you're trying to use these new tools um, to sort of, yeah, get a tune out of it. It's like, because at the moment it's like, yeah, like I play guitar. When I first picked up a guitar, like I think I played like the same 3 chords for like 5 years. Like I sucked so bad. It's like I'm not even that great now, but like I'm much better than I was. And like, yeah, neighbors complain, can that kid, stop playing this 3 chords over and over again? And like, no, like Seven Nation Army isn't like, like get some new riffs. Like just like stop doing that same thing over and over again. And yeah, if you can get a tune out of I think even just trying to at the moment is a worthy endeavor, I guess, because yeah, like it's really hard.
Yeah, no, Inagata Devita, when I first got my bass, that was what I was playing all the time because it's such a long song, but it's also like some of the simplest bass in the softer, slower parts that I was it just kept coming out of me, like, and I feel you. And so in your professional life, since you have a background in production already, and especially since like your kind of first integration into this was from a producer you were talking to, has working with AI changed either your conversations with people or at least your perspective on the conversations with people you have now about any of your work? Because like you have a film that's going to be in festivals. When you go to if you go to the festival, like, are you going to be open about the AI that you use? Are you going to try and wait out if somebody else is open about it? Like, these are the other parts of this that I'm interested with filmmakers, is how that discussion is happening outside of Twitterverse.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. look, I mean, my general rule of thumb is like, you always have to remember nobody gives a shit until you're rich, pretty, or dead. And, you know, I'm none of those three yet. But like, you know, I think the other thing is you said like about Twitterverse or whatever, like literally like I just created this X account for this challenge. Like I like, yeah, like this was like a brand new 0 follower account, you know, whenever I started my 30 days, you know, and like, funny thing is like obviously I have other social media accounts that I've had for a while, like obviously like Instagram and LinkedIn and things like that. And literally like I haven't mentioned this challenge there and nobody knows. So like it's funny. It's like if you're on Twitter or X and you know, or you know, obviously most of my film industry people is all Instagram, right? Like hardly any of them use TikTok. Like the sort of upper echelons, I guess, of like commercials and like filmmaking, they're mostly like using Instagram to promote their work and stuff. So they like have no idea. A lot of the industry people that I've worked with, like most of them have no idea. I was just laughing with a couple of the talent because basically for this film festival that we're going to next month, I was just making all the arrangements because my DOP is coming and a couple of the actors as well. And like literally, I was telling them, I've got the craziest story to tell you when I see you. I can't wait to see you because I have the like most insane story about what's happened to me over the last few weeks. And they were like, "Oh, you have to tell us." And I'm like, "I honestly couldn't. Like, I honestly couldn't tell you what's happened. Like, they have no idea." That I'm doing this. And the funny thing is that very few people from my like real life actually even know. And that's not because I've tried to hide it or anything. It's just like, I guess it is like echo chambers. Like, yeah, so far the worlds haven't collided. But I think maybe at this festival they're going to because yeah, I'm going to be talking to sort of, you know, people about what I'm doing and stuff like that. And yeah, look, obviously I don't want to like sort of give the game away or whatever, but like when I finish this effing film, you know, which hopefully will be soon, like there's just sort of things going on in the background that I can't really talk about yet. But yeah, eventually I guess like, yeah, there will come a point when those two worlds meet, and I think that time will probably be quite soon. But yeah, it's just honestly like I guess it's the nature of different platforms and echo chambers where, you know, like nobody on my Instagram, as far as I know, is like even they don't even open the Twitter app, and a lot of people who are on Twitter like just don't go on TikTok or things like that. So yeah, like literally nobody knows.
You know what? It's cool that you've observed as you've spun up this account on Twitter to parallel the project. It's nice that it's taken off. I think that there's a unique sort of support for the type of behind the scenes craft making work and expose type of stuff here on Twitter that you're doing. Same thing kind of parallels over to YouTube. I don't know if you're sharing stuff over there, but I think that because of it being a video format, that sort of thing plays well over there too. And then, you know, obviously if you aren't sharing stuff over on your other channels and they don't even know about it yet, gosh, you know, are you trying to make an incursion happen at some point to where you can get spillover between your worlds?
Well, honestly, it's so funny because like we live in such a clout chasing world, right? And like honestly, I know it probably sounds ridiculous, but I was actually more afraid of like people in my real film life finding out, like because I actually have a career, and like at the time that I started the challenge, and it's funny because even in the period of time that I've been doing that challenge, like, which you know, obviously, like I think I like you know like yeah like when I started, it was still really kind of dangerous for your career to like do that. Hence why I'm over here. And like, I think we're at the point now where like, I don't think anybody would mind. It's weird. It's crazy how literally in the space of time that I've been doing my film, attitudes have shifted a lot. And so, yeah, like literally when I started out, the reason I created like a whole new account and everything here is just because I was more afraid of like, obviously losing my income, losing jobs. I had no idea also that I would like gain so much. Like I honestly thought I would like put, I would put some videos that I was like fully prepared for like 3 likes, like I was like fully down for like, yeah, you're going to put out a video and like, and also I didn't even know if like I would like, yeah, like, I think if I'd have like had literally no traction, I probably would have just given up. Like I'm not really a giver up kind of a person. I'm pretty relentless, as you'll have no doubt been able to tell. But I think if I'd have literally like, yeah, had like no traction, I probably would have given up. So I like have super respect for people who just keep going regardless. For me, like I was like, it all happened so instantaneously that it was like, yeah, like within literally the first video I put out, I had like no followers. And like the first video I put out got like 30,000 views and I gained like 800 followers overnight. And like in the first week or so, I just had like 2,000 followers, like or something, like literally like in a short space of time. And so, and very quickly people were like offering me things and stuff like that. And yeah, look, obviously, people who hate me, which aren't that many people actually, luckily, who will like actually vocalize their pure hatred. But like the people who hate me, like, yeah, like obviously they will say like, oh yeah, but it's easy for you because you had like everybody give you everything. And like, obviously I'm a very lucky girl, but I kind of think in a way, like I earned that by taking such a big risk because like I have a genuine film career and like I have a family and like, like I'm not a rich person, and like, yeah, like I work really hard to get where I am in my career. It's really difficult to get where I, got to in my film career. And yes, I was really cautious about that. So it's so crazy because I know that like with the social media stuff, everybody just assumes you're a clout chaser, but I really wasn't. Like I'm not someone funny enough who actually really enjoys being in front of the camera. Like, like I did that because I knew that if I just sat in my bedroom and made this film and then released it, literally like no one would care. And like, yeah, I just like didn't want to put all this energy in and it just like be nothing. And I thought, because obviously I've worked in advertising and marketing for my sins, like I know that, yeah, you can use social media to just like, yeah, promote it. And like, rather than it being like, look at me, I thought, well, you have to like offer something, you have to offer use value. And so the obvious thing is to like, yeah, just like open up your process and let people see. And I really didn't overthink it. I think if I'd have thought about it more, I probably wouldn't have done it. I just kind of saw a window of opportunity and just like, yeah, like dove in head first and figured it out as I've been going. And honestly, like I've gained so much from this. Half of it I can't even talk about, which is really frustrating because I'm a big blabbermouth and I really just want to talk about everything that's happening, but I actually can't yet. But yeah, like, and it's crazy because obviously, like in the first instance, obviously I got like a bunch of attention and stuff, and like it was already overwhelming. Like I obviously like I'm like grateful for anyone who paid attention at all. But I basically in the first week, I had like a flood of like venture capitalists in my DMs, and just like every tech company, it seemed like in Silicon Valley was just like, yeah, like communicating with me and wanting me to promote things and amplify things. And it was all very adrenalizing and overwhelming and kind of very surreal. And obviously then like, people wanted to do like creative partnerships and stuff like that. And I just like, yeah, like I just kind of wanted to protect the project, to be honest with you, because yeah, like I just think, I don't know, like they weren't really offering that much money in the first place. And I think that makes a big difference, right? And it's like, well, no, actually, like, now that I've got all these eyes on me, I have to be maybe more careful about and cautious about what I do with that. And yeah, like I just didn't want to sort of like, you know, for want of a better word, kind of whore myself out, because I could have. Like, I could be the biggest star in town for sure, believe me. If you'd have seen my DMs, you would know. And like even now, like, yeah. So I've been more like selective. And like I took the free credits from Mitta, and obviously Act 3 gave me free credits too to like do my to do my project, and that's mostly seen me through. And yeah, look, the crazy thing is like when I started, I had a little bit of hate. I had overwhelmingly positive vibes from people, especially from the AI community. Like a lot of the people are on this call, and like I was just honestly like just overwhelmed with the sort of the positivity. And even now, like I like it's been really hard the last few days because of my challenge and the fixes, and I'm just the stamina. It's been a bit difficult the last sort of few days, and yeah, people are just so sweet to me, and they're still sort of like paying attention and stuff. And yeah, obviously the craziest thing as well is that I've like got so much opportunity now. If I'd have known what was going to happen, like I wouldn't have been so cautious about it all. But I had no idea. It's crazy to me now that I think I thought I had more to lose than to gain, if that makes sense, out of doing it. I was afraid. I was actually really afraid that like it would negatively impact my ability to make real life films. And actually it's had the total opposite effect. If anything, I think this will definitely help me make more and better real life films. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's advantageous. Like your timing is impeccable is really what I think it comes down to, because, and I mean, I can tell you what immediately got me from seeing your video was I felt like I was engaged in something that I already do every day, and it was weird for me because I was like, all right, let's see what this video is about. And it was like, all right, this is a long video, so I gotta lock in if this is something I'm gonna watch. And I had no trouble locking into what you were describing and how you were describing it. And you had a really good vulnerability about what you didn't know and what you did know. And you did a really exceptional job keeping somebody who even is invested so deeply in AI. I'm more invested in AI than I am in film, only, by necessity. And I think it's, you're really doing whatever project you're doing, whatever service you use to make that project, you're doing them a huge like service at making something the way you make it, because it really does make it very accessible. And I think that's what a lot of people are really attaching to, is your accessibility was so well done. And I've watched your YouTube stuff on my giant ass TV, and it still carries well. It still like resonates. It's still something that, I'll be like, all right, what's the next one? Did I miss a day here or there? So like you really like you knocked it out the park with not thinking about it, I think, and just going for it, because it does feel really authentic and natural. But that oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say thank you. Like that's the nicest thing anyone said to me.
Oh, no problem.
So thank you for the compliment. And yeah, honestly, the thing is, I kind of just knew that I'm just not a person who can lie for a long time. Like, I can lie for a short period of time, but I guess part of me just knew my limitations, that I would not be able to I would not be able to like be inauthentic for very long. And like even now there are things I can't talk about, and I find it really difficult not to talk about them. So like I wouldn't be very good at being a politician, I think. But like, yeah. And the other thing is like, I think the other thing is I wasn't like in the AI space, but I kind of was following a few people on like a sock account that I had, and like just like like keeping abreast of sort of what had been happening in the space. But I definitely wasn't like, I didn't know anyone in the AI community. I didn't have any friends here, and like immediately I made so many friends, and I'm so grateful for those people. And like the other thing is as well is that I think also coming from having an actual career in real life film, you learn that like you just can't be a arrogant twat all the time. Believe me, I've tried really hard to do that, and it doesn't get you anywhere, and it makes you no friends, and it loses you jobs. And yeah, I think that anyone who actually works in the industry knows that the more that you big yourself up, the more immature and like unprofessional you look. And like humility and modesty is like far preferable. And I just think in life as well, like, I don't know, like you're not really fooling anyone, are you? Like if you're sort of playing the big shot and stuff. And look, also, I think it doesn't, my wife always says as well, like, also, I think as a woman, I probably wouldn't have got away with a lot of the big shot stuff because maybe I'm wrong, but women just, have a lot less, people have a lot less patience with women doing that kind of stuff. It's not very feminine, and I'm not very feminine, and so yeah, like it didn't occur to me that there would be another way to do it other than to be myself. And I even said in my first video, like, I'm gonna like hope that I have enough humility to make this work, because I also know that like that's actually not like you have to cultivate that. It's not actually a natural thing, like, like, but also one thing you can do if you want more humility and less ego, it's just like try and do what I'm doing and like have people tell you, that you suck every day. Like that really helps your ego. And also like, yeah, look, this whole way along, I've never thought that I was doing something that was good enough, right? And that's not because I'm like super crazy insecure or something. It's because I know what the level is, right? And like, you're not like, it's not at the level. Like I'm like at the, I'm at the sort of end stage of post now. And I'm like trying to root out all of the things that, are not at the standard that they should be. And like, yeah, like, so I never sort of got high on my own supply particularly. There was a little bit of fun. There was fun times when people were offering me all kinds of crazy shit and stuff. Like it was quite fun. But like ultimately I knew that there's like that pendulum can very easily swing back. And like actually, to be perfectly honest, and I haven't sort of said anything about this, initially, like the hate that I got was all from the anti-AI community, but I hardly ever get any hate from them now. I exclusively only get hate and bitterness from a very small number of other AI creators. Like that's it, when I get hate, that's where it's coming from, and I completely ignore it and just take it as a compliment. But yeah, like I never thought I was like the big shot, and I still don't feel like my work is actually like at the level that I want it to be. So it's very easy to stay humble because I never really got that high on my own supply in the first place.
Yeah, that's strong. It's what you got to do, especially, like we were saying earlier, the production value, pumping this, that. Like I come from so many different worlds that's what it's like. And I remember early in my film career, like going to little festivals where it was the same way that going to bands, like concerts for bands that I knew. It was all of us who knew the band. We'd watch the one set and we'd leave. With film festivals, it was cast and crew watch the one film. Even though I made it as a director, I made it a point that everyone had to be there with me to watch the rest of the films. Everyone would drop off. I'd go to the bathroom and suddenly 6 people would be missing. It's like, what the? All right, I get it. It's hard, and it's hard to build that culture. And I think you did a really like sick job of that, which, that's the thing at this point we're at, with people like Scorsese getting into this, James Cameron's been hovering for years, and all these other people. It's now at the point where all the rats are starting to look at each other like, all right, I have to eat one of you maybe, instead of saying, hey, we're both rats, let's get out of this together and figure this out. So I wanted to do a time check and see how long we got you for left. And then I was wondering if you're also open to, we'll open to the crowd as well if they want to come up and ask questions. So you good on time? I think till what was it?
Yeah, I'm okay on time for now. I'm honestly shocked at the amount of patience that people have that they could listen to me talk for so long. But like, yeah, for sure. Do questions to the audience if you like as well.
Sure. I think they had good training with your videos, because like that was one of the great things about your content was it was like long form, and it was something that I feel like I could like watch, and just watch. It wasn't something where I needed to have a notepad with me. That most of the AI stuff is like, all right, well, fucking this safe tensor file, and then I have to download this and then write that. So we're opening it up to the audience. Anyone has any questions for Jenny, you can just request to come up. Since I'm on desktop, Michael, if whoever you see, just do the due diligence we always do with whoever asks. While if anyone does want to come up, one of the like kind of almost in the end of the questions I have some alternate ones, is like, what would you tell anyone, especially if somebody comes up and says, hey, I want to try and make a AI feature in 30 days. Like, what would you give them as advice? Would you just say, don't ever do this again? Just run away? Like, what would
I would say, it's very, very difficult to do it in 30 days. I think I could have done it maybe in 30 days, or maybe somebody like actually better than me could have done it in 30 days for sure. But the difference was, and I keep having to sort of explain this really, is that I'm not only like directing the film, I'm like also producing the fucking film, right? Like I can't explain to you, like I spend so much time doing other stuff that's not doing the film. And obviously the content takes several hours just to do on its own, because it's gotta like, I gotta do my makeup, I gotta put my room together, I gotta like film the thing and then edit the thing and then export the thing and then upload the thing. And like believe me, like, I'm grateful to be doing all of it. So I'm not like, whining or complaining about it. But I think like it's just, if you're going to do it like for like pure 30 days, you probably could do it. But doing it the way that I did it, like with doing content, and also just like, I'm very lucky that a lot of things kind of happened behind the scenes that needed my attention as well. And obviously, like I have a family and a life and stuff like that too. So yeah, I think that you could do it in 30 days for sure, if that's all that you were doing. But obviously, just sort of a lot has happened like in that time period. And like obviously, I just tried to, across all of it, like just remember like the film is actually what counts here. Like if I don't make the film, then none of this other stuff really happens or matters anyway. And like, the actual making of the film has been a really good way of just kind of like keeping myself just like I guess grounded and stuff with everything that's gone on, because like Roger flipping Avery is like, calling me the vanguard of like indie film. Like I love like that, he's like one of my heroes since I was like a teenager, like that kind of stuff. Like I was trying to explain to like my family like what that means, and they were just like, oh, okay. Like they didn't get it, right? But like obviously industry people and stuff like that are like, whoa. But like just to like, like literally like the craziest thing is that it's actually been really easy to just like actually stay grounded, because then after that happened, I literally have to like go back to like something really banal and like fix something really tiny and like be reminded of my complete inadequacy like literally the very next minute. So it's been a whirlwind. And I just think it's you could have done it in 30 days if I didn't have all this other stuff going on with it, for sure.
It's a bit of a sprint and a marathon. Sherry has come up to stage. I think she has a question because I saw your hand popping up a couple of times. So go ahead.
Well, I'm like a fangirl, first of all. First and foremost, I almost got out of this space. And Jenny, I want to say thank you for your vulnerability, your authentic, your ethics, and just not giving a shit. And I want to know, 30 years, when you popped up that camera and started, what do you think you would do different? I don't think anything, but I just wanted to come up here and say thank you for giving me the spark back and just, Jesus, girl, keep going.
Oh, Sherry, thanks so much. Sherry, like, I'm your biggest fan. Like, I can't tell you, like, on days when, like, it's been really hard, and obviously, look, the whole thing has been amazing. So I wouldn't, it's classic, but like, I probably wouldn't change a thing. There are definitely things I could have done differently to have improved and stuff. But yeah, like, on the days that have been more difficult, you've popped up and left me a message. And like, honestly, like, there's been a few people that just like, yeah, have been as relentless as I have been about like supporting me. And I honestly, I just like, it actually, like, yeah, it means a lot to me, and I can't thank you enough, really. And yeah, look, the thing is, I just generally assume that no one's going to give a shit. And the thing is, I think that's a good way to approach life, because then you have low expectations. Like, I really didn't come in with any sense of like, I think it also helps that, like, yeah, having been in the film industry and working in the film industry and trying to make it in the film industry, you start to learn that, like, literally no one cares. Like, and like, so like, my entitlement was like pretty low. Like, I didn't expect any of this, and I think that's a really good way to approach it. So it wasn't necessarily like natural. Like, I wasn't like naturally super like humble or modest or anything like that. None of that comes in any way naturally, as my family would happily tell you. But like, I think it's just more that, like, yeah, like, I don't, like, I didn't think, wasn't expecting anything to happen. And what would I change? I think that yeah, by putting the 30 days, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because the 30 days is basically like Hitchcock's bomb under the table theory, right? Where it's like that creates sort of this tension and this conflict and drives people to sort of the content. And I knew that it would take longer, really. Like, obviously I'm a very optimistic girl, but like, like, I thought realistically it should take 60 to 90 days, because I'm also not that fast and my computer's a bit slow. But like, yeah, I knew that basically, that's just like a long time, and like, I have to go and like earn money and stuff. And like, also, yeah, like 30 days is just like, I don't know, it just kind of sounded like something that should happen. And so I was very instinctual with a lot of my decisions. I didn't overthink it, like I say. And I think that it's a double-edged sword, because if it hadn't have been the 30 days, I wonder if it would have got the same traction. But at the same time, by doing the 30 days, I kind of like hamstrung myself in some respects. Not only because I had to kind of move with a lot of efficiency, which I don't think was a bad thing. I think that actually, in a way, like, it forced me to make like the most efficient storytelling decisions sometimes. But also just that, like, obviously, like, I sort of, yeah, like, opened myself up, I guess, to like, yeah, just more criticism when I didn't hit the 30 days. But to be honest with you, I don't really pay attention to like so much. Like, obviously, like, like, I'm human, so like, people saying nasty things or whatever, like, yeah, it can affect you. But like, honestly, I'm too busy to sort of let things affect me for very long. And like, what I tend to do is I just tell Claude what's happened, and then I just move on. So I don't even like burden with my family with like the sort of like negativity or whatever. I just kind of like, I just tell Claude what happens, and Claude just like tells me, oh, Jenny, it's totally understandable that you feel like, sad about that. And then I just move on. So yeah, but what would I have done differently? I think that maybe I probably would have storyboarded more. I would have had, yeah, just like, I guess in a way I should have just treated it like a real life film more, I guess. But I just kind of, like I said, I didn't really overthink it. So I didn't really have a storyboard when I started. And yeah, I guess I'm a little bit paying the price for that now. But then again, I don't know if Seed Dance would have been able to actually like work with my storyboards anyway. I don't know. So yeah, there's that. I think also like I could have been more accurate with some of my my contact sheets, because some of the things I'm having to fix now are as a result of like start frames that I didn't fully check the face on, or like start frames or like contact sheets that accidentally had like something in the back. Like one of my characters, not the main character, but like her best friend. I don't know. I didn't really check the contact sheet that it had like a filing cabinet in the back of the character contact sheet. I didn't really think about that. So now, in like almost every scene she's in, there's like a filing cabinet in the back of the scene. Like most times I get away with it, but most times it's out of focus and like far enough away that like it's not really interfering with the scene. But like this fucking filing cabinet is just like in every scene she's in. So like just I guess I would have paid more attention to detail, I think.
Oh, thank you so much. I just wanted to say thank you. I have one more question, then I'm going to pop down so others could ask you, or we could free up your time. So I really appreciate the time. Where do the stories come from? Where do they come from? You didn't storyboard, which is really freaking me out. So you didn't have the story in mind? Did you script it out? Where did they come from? That's my biggest thing. Stories are amazing.
Oh no, I had a script, so I just didn't storyboard. Like if I was gonna shoot in real life, I'd like meticulously storyboard, but I didn't do that. And I kind of just like I started when I started on my day one or whatever. I started like putting like my script into sort of I think it's GPT Image 2 or whatever that does like storyboards. And it's like pumping them out, and I just wasn't that impressed by them. And I thought, screw it, I'm just going to do it myself. And then I realized that basically, if you have a really strong start frame for a scene, Seed Dance will maybe actually do a better job of like actually just like figuring out what you want anyway. So yeah, that's why I didn't storyboard. It was a decision. It wasn't just because I didn't. It wasn't because I couldn't be asked or didn't know I needed one. It's like I made a sort of editorial decision about that. And I generally don't regret that, but there are instances while I'm editing now where that's kind of a bummer, and I made a bit of a rod for my own back with that. But yeah, there are like loads of technical things like I could have done differently. Yeah, definitely next time I would learn from some of the mistakes I'd made, for sure. And I think maybe when I'm fully finished and like I'll do a debrief where I can literally just map out like for everyone who wants to try and do it, like all of the things that I effed up, And I think, the script I wrote like 5 years ago. So I wrote this, it was originally called Your Mother Should Know. And it's like it's a story that I wrote that was fiction. It was written completely as fiction, but obviously intended to sort of be realistic. And obviously at the time, like 5 years ago, obviously when you were trying to get scripts made, like it was sort of, I wouldn't call it feminist, but it was like sort of female driven, like sort of, I guess like 5 years ago that was kind of rad. Right now, honestly, I don't know, like 5 years later, whether I think audiences have kind of moved on a bit, and it's like, okay, yeah, we get it, like she's a female police officer, okay. Like I think there's a bit of that now. So yeah, but like when I wrote it, it was like the height of sophistication to have like a female crime caper where these women are like badass and stuff. But yeah, that was like 5 years ago. And the script, I just wrote it. Like, I've been basically a bit like Dr. Dre, just like writing in a lab in my bedroom for like 5 years. So I've got a lot of scripts.
I love how
Thank you.
You've blended in two rap references. And it's I mean, I'm from Brooklyn, so like you definitely rapped right around where I wanted to be. It's so funny. It's so well done. Exceptional. I'd actually whatchamacallit, I wanted to ask about with script writing, and especially since you use Claude so often, like where are you at with every other aspect of your creativity? Is it just video generation that you want to use AI into, or is I see personal life and AI and video. Like are you playing with it for type of like story development, or where are you using it for script writing? Would you use it for script writing? Are you intending to use it for marketing? Like where are you at with it?
So I just see it as like a tool that you can kind of lean on. Like I definitely think like Claude is better than ChatGPT. Although when ChatGPT first came around, I thought it was super cool, and it is super cool. And look, I haven't used it for script writing yet, and I didn't use it for script writing this film because this was written, predating ChatGPT and stuff like that. But for example, like one of the things that I do without even questioning it now is like I basically outline myself. Like when I have an idea, like I was writing an idea last night or the night before that I had, and like what the first thing I do when I have like an idea or a character or a concept is I write it out in a very simple Pixar story framework, which is like, like once upon a time there was a guy, every day he did whatever he did, and then one day something, unusual happened, and then because of that something else unusual happened, and then because of that something else unusual happened, and then blah 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 until finally he resolved his family trauma or whatever his problem is. But like, yeah, like, so I usually just do that workings in my head first, because that's how I check a story is actually going to work, if it fits in that framework well. And then what I will do now, and this isn't what I did when I wrote this script 5 years ago, but what I do now is what I used to do is basically manually put that Pixar story framework sort of just written out, basically like a nursery rhyme, like Three Little Pigs kind of thing. And I just start to build that into a beat sheet. And there used to be this thing called Talking Draft. I'm sure it still exists, where like I would just go, it's free, like you just sign up, and then it has all these templates for beat sheets, and it's like save the cat, or do you want 5-act structure, 3-act structure, or whatever, and it's got all the beats for you and you just fill it in. So that's how I would basically like plot out my scripts and make sure that the story mechanics actually work. And then a really great thing that I've been using for years is basically for main characters, like that can be like protagonists and antagonists, like villains and stuff. Like for key characters, there's this thing called Jill Chamberlain is the woman's name, and I never read her book, but I watched a podcast of her talking about screenwriting one time, and she had this thing called the nutshell technique. And I'm generally not into people who have got their own techniques and stuff, but like this one's super helpful. She's got these free worksheets that I won't move forward with the project until I quickly fill out her character arc sheet that basically helps you work out what the character's sort of weaknesses and strengths are, helps you work out how your story, the like emotional drivers of your story, it's like a bit like the engine, right? It's like, I guess the sort of the talking draft stuff, that's more like the body of the car, if you like that's like, like the actual structure of like the vehicle. But then actually the internal mechanics and stuff, like that's all character arc stuff. And so I basically like run my ideas when I have them through those, I guess, like through those frameworks. And then I'm basically good to go. And I guess what I could do next, I haven't done it yet, but you could get, like AI, Claude or whatever, to write you a terrible first draft. And there's no reason you couldn't do that. And then go and like refine it yourself. Because the things that Claude, and obviously any AI is going to understand is, things that are repeatable processes, right? So you could definitely get all the mechanical stuff. And actually, like, I don't want to blow the surprise, but Act 3, who obviously I've been making my film with, they have something very cool coming up the is it pike? I don't know if that's the right word, but coming up the pike, that's to do with that kind of stuff. So I would use AI for that. I think realistically, like AI, its limitation at the moment is going to be, it can write you a terrible first draft where all of the like plot is correct probably, and where like, I haven't tried it yet, but I'm sure it could write you, a terrible, terrible first draft that's got everybody in the right place saying their subtext out loud and stuff like that. But I think obviously as a writer, like you want to go in and actually write.
Oh yeah, I think what what you're talking about definitely gets me in the idea that there's definitely some pre-production tools that would be great intakes in that type of like fashion, because I'm reminded of like D&D character sheets, how that's very similar to what you were talking about as far as the like making the character profile, and then having the beat sheet type of thing is like a big final draft thing. And I've never thought that final draft was worth the money to pay for it. So I would never fucking give them a dime. But it's one of those things that AI would be really, kind of an HTML file that's just like a site you just open up and it spits out a PDF of like all those different processes would be really, really cool. Especially like the way you've described it.
Well, one thing I would say just on that you've made me think about as well is that I do think that you do have to be cautious that, look, all of the workings out that I just told you that I do, it's a bit like a football player, right? If a football player has a good game, they start to develop all these rituals that they do around their sort of discipline and their sport or whatever. And I think that like a lot of that's really psychological. It's like preparation. It's like, like preparing yourself to be creative or to, like stuff like that. And I think that if you find something, like I'm just telling you what works for me, and like everybody will have their own little sort of things. But I think if you've kind of developed something like that, yeah, I wouldn't mess with it too much, because that's like kind of like it's almost, like a ritual, like you're getting into your sort of creative flow that way. So yeah, I probably won't mess too much with that, but I can see definitely that it could, take away the sort of, the other thing is like, if you get AI to write your terrible first draft, I just worry that, I don't know, I'll definitely try it, but I definitely think that like, actually, like there's so much in the first draft that the first draft is basically a completely unconscious document, right? Like you are just writing from like your consciousness. And that means that like a lot of it, like maybe 70% of it will be really obvious and on the nose, and you'll need to think harder and come up with cleverer things when you come back around and edit. But there's that 30% of like, I don't know, it's just comes straight out of your subconscious, unconscious mind. And like some of that's coming out of the collective unconscious, some of that's coming out of you and your like specific psychological, like profile or whatever. Like I just think like, if you're like just going to completely let AI do that for you, I worry that, I feel like for me, I would probably lose something from that and obviously you'd be gaining time, but I definitely think like, maybe write the first draft yourself, get AI to then feed back everything that's wrong with it, and maybe use AI as like a writing coach rather than like a writer, I think.
Oh yeah, it's the value thing about where we are with AI these days, because like one of the things that I've found really useful is taking a lot of my finished scripts and putting them in kind of notebooks with Google, and then allowing it to talk to me about an idea when I'm thinking about something, because it knows my patterns, because these are all finished scripts. These are scripts that I would never intend on rewriting. And it really has helped with that. But it's one of the things that I always feel like those rituals also are the thing. Like for me, I can't write without using Celtex, which is a completely outdated. They don't even have the software anymore. It's like it's now completely cloud. And like if I don't use that program, I'm not writing a screenplay, and I don't know what that's about. But it is those rituals that kind of get you into the mindset that does your best work. But it's why I always am interested with filmmakers who do this and they integrate AI into their work, because it's like where else would does that fit? Because everything about what we do, or in my case, what I did, what I used to do, it's all about trying to like find those weaknesses and strengthen them. Like you use a footballer as a really good analogy, because if you're defense is not doing well, if you're not, you're not pulling back enough to then push forward, you got to work on that to make it happen. And I think AI does that for us. So I know we got you out pretty soon. It's not the stuff you can't talk about, but like, is there a dream project that is something you would really want to take on using AI? Like me, I'd always wanted. I'm frequently trying to figure out ways to remake Metropolis because it's now Creative Commons, and Fritz Lang is one of my, favorite. So like Metropolis is always something I'm working through, trying to figure out how to make. Is there anything like that for you? And if so, is that, or is there something that maybe now you think of?
It's a really great question. There's nothing that like I specifically want to do with AI. Actually, that's not true. I had an idea while I've been doing my challenge that you could only really do with AI. And I think that will be really exciting. I might do that towards the end of the year if I have like if I still have, some kind of like marbles left. But like, yeah, there is definitely an idea that I had recently that will be really cool to do with AI and could only really be done with AI. So I will probably do that towards the end of the year, or if not, maybe next year. And apart from that, like, I've got so many scripts and like stories and concepts and ideas, and like, yeah, like it's like the same thing is true that it was that like, yeah, like it will just be dependent largely on like opportunity, like who wants to give me money to make it. And like, obviously, like I have like different concepts, so like scripts that are like sci-fi, scripts that are like, yeah, like satires or horrors or things like that. And like, so yeah, it's interesting because you don't really make films in a vacuum. Like, I guess if you're like a really, really big name director, you can do whatever you want. But like, obviously, if you're not quite there yet, then you're a little bit swayed by, I think it's a good thing. Like, you're swayed by what the market wants and by what people will pay you to make. And I think that that's no bad thing, because actually, like, other people are the collective consciousness, right? Where like, yeah, like other people can also like have an input into like what you should make and stuff like that. So I think, yeah, largely I think the next things that I do will be more dependent on who wants to give me money to make them, and because I could make anything. Like I really could make anything, and I have so many scripts. So yeah, it will literally just be about, you have to pair the right idea with the right opportunity, because not every film would have been right for this specific challenge, for example. Like, in fact, most of the scripts that I have would not have been right for this challenge. So yeah, I think the thing that you learn over time is it's like, it is sort of different strokes for different folks. And I think that, yeah, you have to pair the right aesthetic with the right story, with the right reason that you're making it as well, if that makes sense.
For sure. Yeah. Trying to find the ideal combination of story and financing and skills and personnel, never ending problem. I think it's why they refer to projects like these as little startup businesses in some cases. We have Tyler, who has come up to stage. I think if we have time to fit in a question for you, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, thanks for letting me talk. I've been following Jenny for a little bit, and I've been impressed by what she's been doing. I'm actually in the process of making a from script to final product tool suite, mostly involving AI in terms of the generation stuff, but I've been kind of restricting the screenwriting, the actual script editor, like Final Draft, to be just human made. But I was wondering what you guys, and Jenny in particular, what the biggest bottleneck in your pipeline has been, because I'm trying to make this as seamless as possible, and that's something I've not really been able to ask anybody so far.
It's tough, right? But yeah, I feel like, go ahead.
Tyler, my guy. So, like, people don't know this. Tyler made a video when I was getting AI hate at the beginning of my challenge. Tyler made a video of like Marlon Brando as the Godfather that was so realistic. That was basically talking to me like it's just one shot on Marlon Brando, and he was like, Marlon Brando's like, Jenny, I'm gonna pay a visit to the people who are bothering you and let them know that they shouldn't be bothering you no more, or something like this, right? And it got like nearly 500,000 views all on its own. So Tyler has some like AI magic there for sure. Hey Tyler. Yeah, honestly, really easy question for me to answer, because right now is the biggest bottleneck. Like the fixes that I've been doing, I've been stuck on. And I haven't found a tool that actually, there surely is a tool and could be very easily one that could make what I'm doing so much easier. But I just haven't found one. Like, I would love what Google Gemini's basically says it is in its advertising. I would love a tool that actually can kind of deliver on that, because every time I try and
what part of the process are you in?
I'm in the fixes. So basically, like, where there's like little tiny details that need changing. And like, for example, like Seed Dance is very hit and miss with like editing video. And also I think it's Google Gemini came out with their thing. And like, I kept trying to use it and I've had no luck with that. And like, that kind of promises to be like an editor where you can literally just say, she needs to have, English money instead of American money, but it doesn't. I haven't been able to get a tune out of it. So I think the big bottleneck, is in the fixes, and if someone could solve that problem, they would be very rich. And
I have to train all my stuff locally to accomplish that kind of stuff. I haven't been able to do that either.
Yeah, well, look, the thing is, normally you would just pay someone to do it all for you. But there's two things. Number one, I don't have any money yet. Number two is that also it would be kind of cheating on my challenge. Like, people did come and rush to offer to help. And, I really appreciate especially the advice that people had. But then, it would be kind of a cheat on my challenge. And also I realized that even if I wanted to like give some of the fixes to someone to do, as I was trying to prepare to do that, actually just delegating it was gonna like immediately like just cause so many more problems at this stage than actually just doing it myself. So I'm nearly finished with that, and I've been doing it myself. But yeah, I'd say the fixes, and also obviously a big bottleneck is just like generating that much footage is just insane.
Oh,
And like,
and keeping track of everything.
Yeah, that's it really.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
And before I have an answer for that too. But Jenny, I just wanted to make sure you were out at least 10 before, so you can, get ready for your call.
Yeah, thanks. I have a call at, I have to get off here. Yeah, like 6:55 it is here. So you got another few minutes if anybody has any pertinent questions. But you were going to say something, weren't you?
Well, I was just gonna, try and be cognizant of your time. I just wanted to make sure that we had you out at the time.
I shouldn't have really been spending all this time anyway, but I really enjoyed it. And it's been good to just see my friends and talk to people who have helped me along the way. So yeah, I really appreciate it. And look, I'm a big believer that I think it's really a shame that we kind of live in this very you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back kind of a algorithmic world. And actually I've learned from this challenge, it really is the more that you just give, or not to sound really cheesy, but the more generous you are with things like time and your attention and your skills and your yourself, you get it back tenfold. So I'm very happy to give the time, and even though I don't really have it, and listen to other people, and hopefully I haven't droned on like a bore for 2 hours. So thank you for being here.
You did an absolutely great job, and that's really what I wanted out of this, is just to, like, have you talk to the community a little bit and just hear more about you, because honestly, you being here, biggest thing you could have done for me. So, like, thank you so much for doing this. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I think what it is you've really kind of found something here, and people have found something in what you do. So I'm sure all the stuff you can't talk about hopefully keeps you here in some way, shape, or form, because it's something I'm really excited to see whatever else comes about from what you're doing.
Thank you so much. And yeah, look, I am so happy to be here. And like you said, like I like somebody in my life actually turned to me, I can't remember who it was, but they were like, yeah, you found your thing. Like, you found your thing. And like, yeah, that's how I feel. And like, it's totally accidental. And yeah, I really didn't think it through. But yeah, like, I definitely intend to stick around in the community and stuff. And I think, yeah, the only reason I would leave is if people are super mean to me. Like, so yeah, just be nice to me and I'll stick around. Yeah. Thanks.
Well, hey, if we don't have any other people that want to come up and talk for the meantime, before we close up shop and we have people hanging out, if you would like to join the Discord, it is up in the nest. It is free. It's open. You can share your work, talk tools, talk creativity, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year long. We're over there. This is only 1 day a week, This session has also been recorded and will be put out on a podcast next week. I'm going to try and get it out on Thursday. So if you look around for that, you'll find it going live Thursday morning. If you want to see more of Jenny's work, there's a few posts up above in the nest as well, kind of from the beginning of her adventure to the current state of the adventure, and you can follow all the way through. Who knows kind of where things go as well, and you push it on through to distribution and the circuits that it can find its way to as well. I want to thank you for taking the time. I haven't talked as much today, but that's for the best in all reality.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm sorry, I talk so much. I honestly do. Like, I'm a talker. I'm sorry about that.
No.
Thanks for having me.
No, it was your episode. It was your interview. That's the whole point.
And not only that,
yeah, but if somebody doesn't stop me, I will just keep going.
Yeah, but that's the dynamic me and Michael have too. I could talk to a fucking brick wall, bro. So thank you so much for coming today. We're gonna close up. Any last thoughts you want to say before we shut her down?
Peace out, motherfuckers.
Damn, every time, bro. All right. We the Film3 want you to have a really kick-ass Thursday and have a great weekend. Like you heard today, the vulnerability, the authenticity, the courage to like take that step, it can be something that's really beautiful. And I think that what I've learned over watching Jenny's journey and like preparing for this interview, because I had asked her about this a while ago, because I really thought, and I know that something really special is there. And I think that trying to do this that way is the right way. And I just really want to thank everyone for coming and listening today, and have a really beautiful day. Thank you so much.